February 26, 2016, Friday of the second week of Lent.
A reading from the book of Genesis. Israel loved Joseph best of all his sons, for he was the child of his old age, and he had made him a long tunic. When his brothers saw that their father loved him best of all his sons, they hated him so much that they would not even greet him. One day, when his brothers had gone to pasture their father's flocks at Shechem, Israel said to Joseph, "Your brothers, you know, are tending our flocks at Shechem. Get ready, I will send you to them." So Joseph went after his brothers and caught up with them in Dothan. They noticed him from a distance, and before he came up to them, they plotted to kill him. They said to one another, "Here comes that master dreamer. Come on, let us kill him and throw him into one of the cisterns here. We could say that a wild beast devoured him. We shall then see what comes of his dreams." When Reuben heard this, he tried to save him from their hands, saying, "We must not take his life." Instead of shedding blood, he continued, "Just throw him into that cistern there in the desert, but do not kill him outright." His purpose was to rescue him from their hands and return him to his father. So when Joseph came up to them, they stripped him of the long tunic he had on. Then they took him and threw him into the cistern, which was empty and dry. They then sat down to their meal. Looking up, they saw a caravan of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead, their camels laden with gum, balm, and resin, to be taken down to Egypt. Judah said to his brothers, "What is to be gained by killing our brother and concealing his blood? Rather, let us sell him to these Ishmaelites, instead of doing away with him ourselves. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh." His brothers agreed. They sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver. The word of the Lord.
The response is, "Remember the marvels the Lord has done." When the Lord called down a famine on the land and ruined the crop that sustained them, He sent a man before them, Joseph, sold as a slave. Remember the marvels the Lord has done. They had weighed him down with fetters, and he was bound with chains, till his prediction came to pass, and the word of the Lord proved him true. Remember the marvels the Lord has done. The king sent and released him. The ruler of the people set him free. He made him lord of his house and ruler of all his possessions. Remember the marvels the Lord has done.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Jesus said to the chief priests and the elders of the people, "Hear another parable. There was a landowner who planted a vineyard, put a hedge around it, dug a winepress in it, and built a tower. Then he leased it to tenants and went on a journey. When vintage time drew near, he sent his servants to the tenants to obtain his produce. But the tenants seized the servants, and one they beat, another they killed, and a third they stoned. Again he sent other servants, more numerous than the first ones, but they treated them in the same way. Finally, he sent his son to them, thinking, 'They will respect my son.' But when the tenants saw the son, they said to one another, 'This is the heir. Come, let us kill him and acquire his inheritance.' They seized him, threw him out of the vineyard, and killed him. What will the owner of the vineyard do to those tenants when he comes?" They answered him, "He will put those wretched men to a wretched death and lease his vineyard to other tenants, who will give him the produce at the proper times." Jesus said to them, "Did you never read in the Scriptures, 'The stone that the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. By the Lord has this been done, and it is wonderful in our eyes. Therefore I say to you, the kingdom of God will be taken away from you and given to a people that will produce its fruit." When the chief priests and the Pharisees heard his parables, they knew that he was speaking about them. And although they were attempting to arrest him, they feared the crowds, for they regarded him as a prophet. The Gospel of the Lord.
February 26th, Friday of the second week of Lent. The first reading comes from Genesis 37, 3-4, 12-13, and 17-28. This is the story of how Jacob sent his son, his beloved son Joseph, to see how the other brothers were doing. Now, he should have known better than to send him, because the other brothers were very jealous of Joseph. And not only does he send him, but Joseph's wearing his fine coat, which he had received from Jacob as a sign of his favor. So the other brothers are very jealous of him, hate him, and therefore they plan to kill him. Reuben manages to convince them to only throw him in a cistern. Now, whether they intend to just leave him there till he dies or they will rescue him later, it's not clear. But when a group of Ishmaelites, descendants of Ishmael, which would mean Arabs, are passing by, going to Egypt, they sell him to them. And they plan to cover up his death, shedding some blood of a lamb on his fancy coat and showing it to his father. This shows us the whole act of betrayal, the whole act of brothers turning against brother. And in fact, this near fratricide, this hatred, would only be healed when all of the brothers can accept the fact that Jacob, their father, loves Joseph more than them, that Jacob, their father, is a flawed character, and when Joseph can forgive his brothers for almost killing him. The Gospel is from Matthew 21, 33-43 and 45-46. Jesus tells the parable of a man who owns a vineyard and rents it out when the time comes for the rent to be paid. And they beat up one servant, they kill another. In fact, they kill the owner's only son. What is the message? That they would have a wretched end because the vineyard would be taken away from them. This obviously is a prediction of the rejection of the people of Israel because they wouldn't accept Jesus, the only Son whom God sent. When Jesus tells this parable, the chief priests and the scribes know that he's talking about them, and they try to arrest him, but they can't because the crowd favors him. So notice there's a distinction between the leaders of the Jews who are against Jesus and the crowd which is in favor of him. So in the Gospel of Matthew, it's not all the Jewish people who reject Jesus, it's only their leaders. And may God bless us.